Hello everybody, I am David, and today I want to do a video that might help, future studios out there that are interested in doing a cinematic universe, because let's face it, in this day and age where every studio wants to create a cinematic universe, it seems like a lot of them are failing except for the one that started it all, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's make a video that can be called How to Create a Successful Cinematic Universe for Dummies. We'll add for Dummies in there. Hopefully that's not copyright, because there are a series of books for Dummies. Let's start this off. This is in no particular order, but let's go with number one. Number one, hire a showrunner. Now, a showrunner is usually a term that you would hear for television. Usually the showrunner is the guy, like, for an example, the Arrowverse. You got Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. The showrunner is Greg Berlanti. Maybe there's another one or two other showrunners there that help lead the ship. They set the course of the story for the season on where it's going to start, where it's going to end. Usually the showrunners, help out with the writing process as well, the story process. In the terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the showrunner would be Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is the one who plans which movies are going to come and go where, which storylines are going to be used. I'm sure there's a lot of collaboration that goes into it all, but Kevin Feige is definitely the mind trust behind it all. You can tell with the way he talks in interviews, how he plans things, how one director, I believe it was the director of Spider-Man Homecoming, even said when he was figuring out the timeline of Spider-Man Homecoming, someone who worked at Marvel had a whole a scroll of the timeline of where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is and where Spider-Man Homecoming was going to fit in to all of it. So hire a showrunner that can run the ship, because that's what you need. At number two, I have plan ahead and look at the source material. You have tons of source material at your disposal. I mean, that's your chance to plan ahead. If you look at what works with the material that's given to you, especially if you are, a movie that's based off this large variety of comics, that you have history of stories stored in there. Pick the ones that stood out the test of time, that fans love the most, and just use that as a road to set you on your course. I mean, it's all there. If you go back and watch the first Avengers, you can see things that Marvel was already setting up for Civil War. You go back and watch Iron Man 2, you can see they were already planning a Black Panther film with that map. They had something circling around Africa, which was where Wakanda was located. So plan ahead, look at the source material you have. You have some rich source material in front of you. Use it. Another thing I have on the list is don't throw things into a film just to set up your universe. Something that fans find annoying is there's two types of Easter eggs, okay? There's the very subtle Easter eggs, which are fun for nerds like me to pause and look for, while we're watching the movie. After we see it the first time. Obviously, we're huge fans. We're going to go for our second and third and fourth viewing. We're going to buy it on Blu-ray and pause or download it when it comes to iTunes or whatever, and pause it during specific moments to look for these Easter eggs. But don't just cram them in there and make it look so obvious that it's clear that you're setting up a cinematic universe. We don't want something like Coulson's. This is something Iron Man 2 learned from. Coulson's role in that movie was so pointless. It was clearly there to set up his role in Thor. It was a pointless cameo, and I think Marvel realized that after that movie. It's funny, they never really did much things like that again. Marvel's still learning, don't get me wrong, but clearly they learned from their mistakes. And other studios, they're trying to copy what they did, but they don't even realize the mistakes that Marvel has to make themselves better. You guys already have the Marvel Cinematic Universe here for you. You can learn from their mistakes, and it seems like you guys haven't learned anything from Marvel is doing, because you do it right in your first or second movie, which is unbelievable. Like the Dark Universe, let's talk about that Mummy movie which came out last year, cramming everything they could into one movie that made that clearly got lost in its own Easter eggs. And then you got Batman v Superman as a follow-up to Man of Steel, which was a big mistake because all your Easter eggs were the email. That's all I have to say. That email scene is completely ridiculous. That's the way you're introducing your Justice League members. It's like, come on, man. The next thing I have here is hire good filmmakers. Now, maybe this one isn't fair to put on because I think every filmmaker deserves a shot, because if you just hire recognizable names, you're not searching for new talent. And sometimes new talent can give you some fresh ideas. Now, you want to be careful, but that's why you also look at their track record. What have these people done before? Have they made critically acclaimed movies? Maybe they haven't been financial successes, but that's because when you make an independent movie, it's not easy to make an independent movie a success. With a blockbuster, they're given that chance. Okay, you made a good small film, well, now make a good big film. Give them that chance if they have a good track record. Same thing with writers, hear what their pitch is when they come to you for the meeting. I don't know why Joss Whedon didn't have a story plan for Batgirl. He just came into the office, hey, I want to make a Batgirl movie. And WB was like, well, he made the Avengers. Maybe we should just let him do it. Hey, do you want to hear my plot or my idea for the movie? No, we trust you, Joss. You did the Avengers. Go and do Batgirl. Is that how it worked out? I have no idea. Number 6, take risks. 5 or 6, I'm not sure. But yes, take risks on these movies. If it wasn't for Marvel, we wouldn't have gotten movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, or even the more recent Black Panther. Hell, even DC actually made a risk by doing Wonder Woman. That was a risky film, and it worked. And I have a feeling WB thought that movie was going to fail. But guess what? Because you guys took that risk, it actually succeeded. See what risks can do sometimes? Take risks. You'll never know what the outcome will be. Just try to make a good movie out of it. Hire capable people. That should calm you down. Believe in your characters. This is another one that should be pointed out. This is actually advice that Kevin Feige himself said in an interview. Someone asked him, what advice would you give to DC? And he gave the perfect advice. Believe in your characters. And that just not only goes to DC, that can go to anyone else creating a cinematic universe. I really wanted that Mummy movie from last year to succeed, the one with Tom Cruise. But it seems like Universal just wanted to make an action movie with Tom Cruise guest starring the Mummy. The Mummy stuff was cool in the beginning, from what I remember, but then it started turning into something else, and it seemed like they forgot about the Mummy movie for a while, and they were doing, like I said, hey, let's set up this cinematic universe right here in this part of the film. And then they got back to the movie to finish off the Mummy afterwards. Believe in your characters. If you have monsters, create a monster movie. Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be a monster movie, but do something with those characters and believe in them. Same thing with DC. I mean, come on, DC. You have some of the most iconic movie characters of all time. Not just movie characters, comic book characters in general. Characters in general. Everybody knows who Batman is. Everybody knows who Superman is. These characters are like James Bond. They have been played by countless actors. The Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. These are characters that will stand the test of time. They were created before any of us were born. Like, some of them were even created before my parents were born. And they'll be around after us. Let them stand the test of time on what made them great. Show why people love these characters. Go look at previous works that have worked and see why those worked, not just for the fans, for the general audience, why people embrace them. Why did people love Christopher Reeve's Superman? Why did people like Michael Keaton's Batman? Why did people love Christian Bale's Batman? Why do people see potential in Henry Cavill, but many feel that they haven't been utilized the way it could be? Look at all of that. It's all in the comics. It's all in your previous takes of these characters. You just have to figure out what you're doing wrong and just believe in them. Make good villains that can measure up to your heroes. This is something that even Marvel lacks at a little bit. Maybe they're showing signs now that maybe things will be changing. For me, I never hated the villains as much as other people. Not hated. I think a lot of people were just disappointed with the way a lot of them turned out. Some of them have been pretty forgettable for a lot of people. For me, I remember some of them quite well. But yeah, some of them are pretty forgettable. If you guys look at your villains, again, there's many different versions of them that have been praised, and then ones that fans wanted to see good versions of, where Marvel failed, is the Mandarin, for a great example. That should have been the Joker or Lex Luthor to Iron Man. How they dropped the ball on the Mandarin, I have no idea. But at least, again, Marvel realized their mistake. They even did a short film to kind of rectify that, hey, maybe the real Mandarin is still out there. So maybe one day, if we ever do want to go back to that character, at least there's a way we can fix it. We left that door open. Now, DC, hey, you had General Zod. Some people, like myself, responded really well to him. I thought Michael Shannon was a great version of that character. I think even better than the Terrence Stamp version. And then you got other versions of these characters, like Heath Ledger's Joker, Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. I mean, these are characters, again, you have so many great versions of. Pick the best versions, or try to do better than that version. There are versions that had potential, like Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor. I don't want to bring Kevin Spacey into this because of allegations that have been proven. But you can't deny that Kevin Spacey was a good Lex Luthor. And then you got Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, who was a terrible Lex Luthor. Okay, maybe not as terrible. I didn't hate him as much as other people have. I've actually grown a little bit to appreciate his Lex Luthor. Still not my favorite version, though. And it's sad when the TV show Smallville had the best version of Lex Luthor, in my opinion, of live action to date. So, yeah, that's kind of sad. Finally, I just want to say, look at these movies as not just, a superhero movie. Something Marvel's been doing right is they have been taking subgenres and mixing it with the superhero genre. This is going to be something that's going to help superhero movies last a long time. And I think Marvel wasn't the one that started this. It was actually Christopher Nolan, which is why it's more frustrating looking at DC struggling with this. Like, Justice League felt like your average superhero movie that would have been made back in the 90s. That's literally how it felt. And Christopher Nolan found this way of getting these subgenres and mixing it with the superhero genre. He looked at it as another form, another type of a film. Batman Begins, he used Blade Runner as inspiration. With The Dark Knight, he used Heat. That was his crime thriller film. And then you got The Dark Knight Rises, which Christopher Nolan made into a war film. There's so much other genres out there that you can mix with this genre, and it's something that other genres like comedies. I just seen the Game Night a few days ago, and it didn't feel like your straight up comedy. It felt like it was mixed with something else, maybe a little bit of thriller there. So I think that's something that studios are going to have to look at if you want these things. Don't be afraid. Again, it goes back to the risk thing. Don't be afraid to take risks. This is something that if you want this genre to continue, if you want it to keep you going for a little bit until you find the next big thing, that's something that you're going to have to experiment with. Don't be afraid to do that. So with that being said, I hope this helps anybody out there that wants to start their own cinematic universe. Maybe there's some small guy out there that, you know what, he's taking notes. He's like, you know what, I'm going to create my own cinematic universe with my dog and cat, and it's going to be called the Pet Cinematic Universe. I don't know. And they're going to bring their birds and their goldfish together, and that's going to be their cinematic universe. It's going to be the animal cinematic universe. And then lions and tigers and bears, oh my, are going to all join. So with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Subscribe to my channel, especially if you want me to make fun of studios a lot more, because this is kind of me mocking them, the ones that are failing. And until next time, take care.